All right, awesome. Well, like I said, my name is Will Liner. I'm the Cooperative Forestry Assistant Supervisor with the Florida Forest Service. Uh, Thank y'all for having me. It's been great to be down in Central Florida. It's a little bit warmer than it is here than when I left Tallahassee this morning. So glad to have a little bit more sunshine. Today, very briefly, I want to talk about our landowner cost share programs. Right now, we don't have any that are currently open. So everything I'm talking about is going to be what happened this past year and what we're kind of expecting for next year. The individual rates and of the amount of funding will likely change between now and when we reopen in 2023. But I just wanted to get that out of the way now. I'm talking about what's been happening, what we're kind of expecting to see. Another thing, I know that I'm the last between you and lunch, so I'm going to do my best to keep this short and keep this engaging. So I have time for questions at the end, and if you just want to catch me one-on-one after, that's perfectly good too. So with that, we'll jump right on in. There we go. So really quickly, I always like when someone tells me what they're going to cover when they're speaking. So I want to hit our cooperative forestry assistance section. I'm going to talk about what that is really quick. The main thing I want to be covering today is our sequestering carbon and protecting Florida land program. As that's quite a mouthful to say. When I say carbon program, that's what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to also talk very briefly at the end about our southern pine beetle program. So the CFA section, at a glance, we have 3 regional coordinators in Central Florida. That's going to be our Region 2 and then our Region 3 and 4 coordinators. So Greg Marshall and then Matt Kennard. And then just quick show of hands. Do you know your county forester? Anybody know who your county forester is? Great. Okay. So glad to see some hands up. If you didn't raise your hand, we'd love for you to get to know your county forester. They're going to be your contact with us for a lot of the private land programs, but especially these cost share programs. The county forester is going to be your source for information. In the carbon program, they're required to be engaged with that. They'll do your mapping. They'll help you through that application process. In addition to our 38 county foresters, we also have an urban and community forestry program manager, a conservation programs manager, and then me as the CFA supervisor. A couple of those positions are vacant, so I'm wearing several of those hats right now, but we're looking forward to having a couple of new folks starting with us early next year. Okay, so jumping right into the sequestering carbon and protecting Florida land program. Another quick show of hands. Has anybody heard of this program? Anybody participated in it? Okay, just a very few hands up. So that's great. Well, hopefully you'll learn about this program. We're hoping to have it open again this upcoming year. And if it sounds interesting to you, please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about it more. This is a state-funded program. A lot of the programs that have come through Florida Forest Service in the past have been federally funded. But this one is appropriated by the state legislature. So what makes that a little bit different is our state fiscal year operates July 1 through June 30. So these are pretty short contracts. So by the time the legislatures appropriate the funding, the governor signed the budget, we get it to us, get a cost share program together, and then take in applications. You can see that this starts to back up, and the whole program is pretty short. So this is generally a calendar year program where you have 12 months to complete the things that you apply for. This is very new too. We just started this in 2021. We've had 2 runs of this program, first in 2021. Then we also had one in 2022 that we're in the middle of. All of the 2022 contracts will be ending June 30 of 2023. So coming up pretty soon. Well, in a few months, but pretty soon. And then the practice rates that you see there. So we have 20 acres as a minimum up to 250 acres. And if you did everything that you can get reimbursed for through this program, it's a maximum reimbursement of just over $118,000. So we'll talk about the practices and the practice rates in a little bit, but generally speaking, this program is looking to put pine trees in the ground for carbon sequestration. So we're looking to plant trees and then to do the site preparation necessary to make that happen. So through this program, if you submit an application and you're funded, you can get payments for seedlings, for planting the trees, and then for site preparation. That's burning, mechanical, or chemical. And you can do all three. You can get reimbursed for all three types of site preparation in addition to the seedlings and in addition to the planting. For this program, the applicants are selected based on two scores. The first one is based on the planting density. So because this is a sequestration program, we're wanting to get the most trees per acre as possible in the range of between 605 and 807. The highest score will go to applications that are looking for trees per acre planting between 751 and 807. You can see that goes down by 2 points in each of those ranges. And then the second score is based on the practices you're applying for. So again, because the intent of the program is to get trees in the ground, the highest score is going towards seedlings and planting only. And then if you're doing everything, that jumps down to 4 points. And if you're only applying for site preparation, that's 2 points. Wanted to point out the seedlings and planting score. That last year was a different number. That last year was 6 points, but starting in 2022, that got raised to 10. Big reason being, as y'all are probably well aware, it was very difficult to get seedlings in 2021. Still kind of difficult to get them right now. So because of that, we had a lot of applicants that applied for all three activities, but weren't able to get the seedlings to plant in 2021. So by increasing that score, essentially what we're trying to do is if you applied and you did the site preparation but weren't able to get seedlings, you could reapply just for seedlings and planting, and that score jumps you up to where you'd be funded. But again, because the intent is to get trees in the ground, that's likely going to stay the same. And we're continuing to have a little bit of difficulty getting your seedlings. One other thing I wanted to mention, if you're interested in this program or working with folks that are interested in this program, typically with a reimbursement program, everything has to happen after the contract's been executed. So if you've done any other work with us, any grants, that's pretty standard. After the contract's executed when you can start. This is one of the very few exceptions. If you bought seedlings and pre-ordered them, you can be reimbursed through this program for that as long as they haven't been planted. So if you are wanting to participate in this program in the upcoming year, we can't guarantee that you'll get a contract, but if thinking ahead, if you were planning to plant anyway, you could go ahead and reserve those seedlings. And if you're awarded a contract, you can be reimbursed by us for that, again, as long as they haven't been put into the ground. And then the question that everybody really asks us about this program is, what is the reimbursement rate per acre? So that's what it is. It's prescribed burning is $30 an acre. Mechanical site preparation is $150 per acre. Chemical site prep $112.50 per acre, and then planting at $60. You can see there we don't differentiate by pine species, but for containerized you're looking at $150 per acre, and then for bare root it's per thousand, and then for bare root it's $60 per thousand. So a little bit different than a couple of our other programs, but this is what it was last year. We'll see what happens in the upcoming years. And again, just want to reiterate, the site prep you can apply for all three types. You don't have to, you can do one or you can do any combination thereof, but you can do all three. Kind of to give you an idea of how this program has been running the last couple of years. So initially, the legislature said that we were going to get $2 million per year for 5 years for this program. So in 2021, we had $2 million to allocate, and we received 169 applications that requested just north of $4 million. And of that, we selected 95 applicants for funding, right at the 2 million, just right at it. And that correlated to about 6,800 acres for planting. So we were really expecting that was going to be the trend that continued. That's what we were going to see this year in 2022, but that didn't really happen. So what ended up working is, instead of getting another 2 million, the state legislature appropriated 8 million to us for this year. The idea being we would have 2 million recurring after that, but we got 8 million. So that's quite a big step up from our 2021 program to this year. So we put it out there. We tried to allocate all 8 million. And we ended up with 254 applicants that requested just shy of $6 million. We have funded everyone that we possibly could, which ended up being 238 applicants and approximately 5 million of that. The discrepancy there is we had some applications that were received late that we weren't able to fund. We also had several applicants that applied that weren't eligible. So to be eligible for this program, you have to be a non-industrial private forest landowner. You have to be a nonprofit organization or a local or county government. And for whatever reason, there's a couple of situations where we got ineligible applications. So that's the discrepancy in the number. And so the next logical question is, what happens to the other 3 million that we received that didn't get allocated? And that's a great question that we're working through right now. We're hoping to get it reallocated for next year. So we'll have that for next year's budget. But at this point in time, we're not exactly sure what that's going to look like. So kind of looking into the future with this program, again, it's a state program. So it depends on continuing allocation from the legislature. We're hoping to have it again in 2023. All indications to this point is that we will have it again in 2023. But today I can't say that with certainty. If we do, I expect that we're going to have very similar rules, very similar criteria, and very similar reimbursement rates. But a lot can happen in the 6 months between now and the new fiscal year. Just wanted to hit on again that these are very short contracts. So it's pretty much need to have a plan in place of how you're going to get this work done at the time that we get a contract to you. Because like I said, by the time we get an application out, we get you a contract, you're realistically looking at maybe 9 months, 10 months at the high end of getting it done. There is a possibility where we can extend it very slightly into the next year if we certify it forward. We really don't like to do that. Just it gets a little bit tricky on the accounting side of things, but just wanted to reiterate that. And then seedling supply, again, that's been a limiting factor the last couple of years. Hopefully that's going to continue to get better, but just keep that in mind as well. So switching gears a little bit into our Southern Pine Beetle program. Has anybody heard of this program? Okay, great. So a few more have heard of this one. This is a federally funded program, so we don't have the same concerns, but again, it kind of depends on the federal funding that comes down. This is also private landowners. The acreage requirements are a little bit different. So this one is a minimum of 10 acres, and this one has a maximum reimbursement of $10,000. And another one, I know we're in Central Florida, so only the northern 44 counties are eligible for this program. So depending on where you exactly live and operate, it may not be an option for you. But again, if you have specific questions, catch me after or reach out to your county forester. They'll have plenty of information about this as well. So the practices that are eligible through this program, you have the first pulpwood thinning, and this is the one exception on that 10 acres. For thinning, it can be a minimum of 5 acres, but also seedling establishment, prescribed burning, and mechanical underbrush treatments. And then this program is also based on a number of scoring, who's eligible or who gets funding. So that's going to be the practice type. So whether you're thinning or planting or burning, or doing mechanical site preparation, that's your first score, and you can kind of see those there. I won't read straight off the slide, but the highest score is going towards thinning of loblolly or shortleaf pine, and then the lowest is doing thinning of other pine species or mechanical underbrush treatment. Then your second score is based on whether you've gotten previous funding. So the idea here being, if you applied last year and received funding, you're not going to get an incentive score here. This is if you haven't signed up during the 2 previous years, just to try to make sure that we're spending this money with unique people and not spending the same operations year after year. And then the third is based on a management plan. So ideally, we'd like to see you have a current tree farm or forest stewardship plan. And if that's the case, you get the highest score. And if you don't have a management plan at all, that's a 0 for that score. Yes. It's To be totally honest with you, it predated me. I'm not exactly sure why that score is different. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was, what is the different? Why is there a scoring difference between a consultant prepared plan and a tree farm or forest stewardship plan? That decision predated me. I'm not exactly sure what that difference is, but I'm assuming that it's based specifically on the enrollment in the tree farm or forest stewardship program. So I think if you would, because we do have consultant prepared plans that qualify for both of those programs. So if that did, then it would fall under that 15. So, okay, and then the last selection criteria for this program is your hazard score. So based on this map that you can see here, the highest is for the areas in red, and then the lowest is the areas in blue. So you can see the range there. And that once you put all those scores together, that's what gives you a total application score. And then obviously, depending on the applications, we'll do a ranking and that will come out. This program also runs slightly differently in our agency. It goes through the forest health section. So this Jeff Eichwart in Gainesville instead of through my office, but wanted to mention it here too because it's another cost share that we have. And then again, the practice rates. This is the thing that everybody's going to ask, what's the money involved here? And you can read them there. Your first pulpwood thinning is $50 an acre. And then you have prescribed burning at $15 an acre, mechanical underbrush at $25 an acre. And then you can see here, if you're wanting to plant longleaf containerized, you got $100 per thousand all the way down. So with that, I'll open it up to questions. You need me to go back a slide? Yeah.
Make sure to clarify this point. First one, you get and you can still keep difference.
I believe that's correct. I'll have to verify with Jeff, but I believe so. Oh, I'm sorry. The question was with the first pulpwood thinning, that's you're getting paid to do that operation and you can keep the timber. And yes, I believe that's the case. But before you quote me on that, I need to check with Jeff just to be sure.
Okay, any other questions for Will? Raise your hand. Yes.
Yes. So the question was for the carbon program, is there any requirements about when you can thin and things like that? Yes, we do have a rule for that. You cannot intentionally destroy the stand within 5 years. So our foresters will be checking up on that to make sure that the stand is there. Obviously, things outside of your control, hurricanes, wildfires, things like that are included. But as long as you're not intentionally destroying the stand within those 5 years, you're okay. Beyond that, there's nothing outside that 5 years as far as harvest or thinning.
All right, Will, we got an online question.
Are there website links available with info about the program?
Yes. So for the, we can put it in the chat, but the specific one for the carbon program is www.fdax.gov/carbon program.